Hello and welcome to the big picture. The transition within the BJP, which had started with Amit Shah being made the president of the party, is complete now. The party, which was always identified with its stalwarts like Atal Bihari Vajpayee, L.K. Advani and Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi, ever since its inception in its present avatar in 1980 and even before in its Jan Sangh avatar, has now changed. For the first time in all these decades, these three veteran leaders don't find themselves part of the party's parliamentary board, the most powerful party body. Their elevation to the newly created Margdarshak Mandal, an advisory apex body, is seen as a way of sidelining these leaders. The party, it is said, is now in the hands of a new leadership, basically loyal to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What does this transition mean to the party and what is the road ahead? How will the party see itself and be seen under this new generation of leadership? We will discuss all this today with Professor Pushpesh Pant, political analyst and former professor at the JNU, Smita Gupta, associate editor of The Hindu, Sheela Bhatt, editorial director of the Rediff.com, and Anant Bagaitkar, bureau chief at the Sakaal group. Welcome to all of you. Professor Pant, there are two ways of looking at what has happened yesterday. One is that the older generation have retired and have been made to retire, or whatever we would like to call it. And second is bringing in the new, or the second way of looking at it is they have kept these senior leaders out, they have been shabbily treated. How would you look at it?
I don't think there are two ways to look at it. I think there are some undeniable facts of this episode. I think they have been very shabbily treated, that's one. I don't think there is any transition going on. The transformation is complete. This reminds me of that old movie, this is No Country for Old Men. So it almost comes to a conclusion that this country, BJP, if you call it a country at the moment synonymously, has no place for elderly. That's one. It's not only that Dr. Joshi and Mr. Advani have been sidelined. Normally the phrase is they have been kicked upstairs.
Yes.
But in this case they have been kicked nowhere. I mean, in the sense the Margdarshak Mandal is just a showcase. Mr. Vajpayee is a member there and everybody knows that Mr. Vajpayee is not in a position to be a beacon anymore to anybody. May he live long, etc. But the point is, then the same Margdarshak Mandal, which has these elder statesmen, Bhish Pitama sort of, it also has Rajnath Singh ji, it also has Mr. Modi himself,
yes.
It has much younger people, so they are almost redundant there. So I think they should have been more gracefully let out and allowed to retire. Whether they brought it upon themselves, whether it was given to them, whether they failed to read the mood, I think is the old phrase again has this Girish, old soldiers don't die, they simply fade away. In this case, they were not allowed the luxury of fading away. They have been unceremonious. And why single these people out? What happened to Jaswant Singh a little earlier? I mean, the poor man is lying in coma at the moment.
Right.
But all senior people have, I mean, I'm not arguing for a moment that they should be here for all eternity, the Trinity. But I think there is a more...
You think there was a more gracious way in which it could have been done?
I should have thought so. That there should have been maybe a subtler way of showing them the door.
Sheela, could there have been a more gracious way?
No, we have to see in the bigger perspective of all the political parties how Sonia Gandhi entered as president and how Sitaram Kesri had to
unceremoniously
yes. And so, I don't know, actually, I agree with the intent of what Mr. Pant is saying, but do you have any idea, I mean, what can be done? Because now new generation wants to take over. Three points are there. Advani, Joshi ji, do they have more support with, see, everything has to be democratic, we would expect. Whether Modi expects or not, but we would. So, very first thing for any political leader, within the party support system. Does Modi and Amit Shah have or Advani? First, they lost. They lost.
I just want to make a small point.
First of all, they lost.
Sheela.
No, I would.
Sheela, look here.
I agree with your intent.
Please, don't have a personal
So, I agree with the intent. I mean, what he tried to say, I understand that. But I think, at one point of time, you have to be practical. I think he became practical, the new leadership. First of all, I'm saying that I don't know. Because, see, what is my understanding is that Amit Shah met Advani ji and said that we are planning this way. And I
So
think
he was
this time
informed
he has not
before.
written any such letter or
Not so
nothing
far.
has happened so
Not
far.
so far.
I suppose that, and secondly, I think, see, I think bigger perspective is this, that transformation is taking place within the BJP. Narendra Modi is showing that he is the central authority, and the way he wants to move on, I think Advani ji and Joshi ji era has ended much before even this election. It ended in Goa. So I suppose that
this was a natural. You say that this was a natural.
This is just a formal
progress
thing
of what happened
I think
in Goa.
formal thing done, because I say in favor of the new leadership. I would say only one thing, that I think who are we? This is a party thing happening. So first and foremost thing, do they have a support system? I think within the cadre, within the BJP's vote base, I think they approve of Advani or Amit Shah and Modi.
I don't know whether
why Amit Shah and Modi how did they get the
there's
vote?
no doubt about it. But the thing is, I mean, you're saying or talking of democratic thing, there are 10, 11 people. You wanted to say something before I go to
that there is a
Smita.
system of emeritus professors in the university.
You're also a professor emeritus now.
Well, not of any eminence, but whatever. But what I was suggesting is that this Margdarshak Mandal could have been made of only elder statesmen with no effective power, and there should have not been any younger people, including Mr. Modi and Amit Shah. They are very much there. And then these people would be in a different league altogether, without any support base, without any approval ratings and so on from the young. But they probably would have their self-respect intact.
See, I was just adding this, that you said in your intro that the only loyalists of Modi are given, but I don't know any
I didn't
single.
say loyalist
I
of
don't know
Modi. I
any
said
single.
he has had a final say in everything which has been done.
Agree, and there is a problem about it in Indian politics. But in this 30-40 years, I have never seen any single Congress politician in Congress working committee who Sonia Gandhi is not since 30 years, but since 98 onwards, single politician in Congress working committee who is not loyal to her. So
loyalty is a factor in all political parties.
That's a problem.
Calling themselves
I agree.
democratic.
There should be plurality of voices.
So calling them democratic is not
plurality should be there, but
we're being a little too kind to them by calling them democratic. Yes, Smita.
No,
yes.
I don't think all these are the issues. It's a surgical operation.
It's a completely surgical operation.
I think Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah want to announce that this is a new, this party now, under this new leadership, this is a new era. And he has done it surgically. This Margdarshak Mandal doesn't make much sense, but however, this is not to defend anybody or denigrate anybody. This happens in every political party. I remember at the time when Jyoti Basu and Surjit were no longer part of the Politburo in the before the Congress took place, where I asked a senior party leader, I said, oh, so they will now be elder statesmen. He said, there's no such concept as an elder statesman. Either you're a member of the Politburo and Central Committee and are part of the decision-making process, or you're not. So I think that is exactly what is happening here, that they will no longer be part of the decision-making process, Mr. Advani and Dr. Joshi. But let us not forget one thing. Both of them have proved that they can still win Lok Sabha elections.
Both of them have won elections.
Lok Sabha elections.
And a couple of people who are there in the cabinet, they have not, or in the board, they didn't win the parliamentary elections. Anant, is there a balance? We're talking of, Sheela was talking about the democratic support within the party, when, about of the people who are now in the, do you see a balance there? Do you see justification, even if we take what Smita says, that, this happens in every party, the older people have to vacate space for the younger people, fine. But ultimately, everybody looks at the balance.
No. First thing is that I don't buy this argument of retiring politicians.
Politicians don't retire.
Politicians are made to retire. And I think in this case, Narendra Modi and Amit Shah had their own way, and they just made them to retire. Means not in the real sense. They are still member of Lok Sabha. They are still maybe in some Margdarshak Mandal or anything. Second thing, in politics, when you are an active politician, take the example of Achyutanand. How old is he? He is 85 plus.
Right.
Jyoti Basu, E.K. Nayanar, when he was alive, Morarji Desai, when he became Prime Minister, he was 80 plus.
Yes.
So I just don't buy these theories that somebody is 80 years old or 70. Can Mr. Narendra Modi give an undertaking today that today he is 63 and after 75 he will retire? So I think this is all humbug, this age factor of politicians. As long as a politician is active, he should be allowed to act as a politician. Yes, Narendra Modi and Amit Shah might be having some problems with the older generation or this Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi. So he had his own way and he just asked them to be in that so-called Margadarshak Mandal. That's all. I think that is the meaning of what has happened in BJP yesterday.
Okay. Professor Pant, message. What is the message which you are receiving from what has happened?
Well, the message I see is rather interesting, is a complex one. I mean, forget Mr. Advani and Dr. Joshi for a moment. What is the kind of a relationship with the new transformed BJP is going to have with the RSS? Everyone is very keen of every time very easily saying that the remote control is RSS. But these two veterans were very much people who were at one stage trusted by RSS and was supposed to be supported by RSS. So does it mean that whatever the surgical operation or this inevitability of coups in all political parties, graceless, is there? We concede all that. But then BJP has always been a special kind of a party.
Right.
Like the CPIM, it has also prided that it is not a Congress party.
Right.
Some people have accused it of becoming a Congress B team. So by this coup, this bloodbath, it is more like she was pointing out Sitaram Kesri versus Sonia versus other such slaughters.
So they're just following in the traditions of
I would be more interested in finding out what kind of a relationship the new transformed BJP under Mr. Modi and Amit Shah, primarily the two of them, has with Sangh at one step. And also Sheela was making a very interesting point that these people, the older people, no longer have the pulse of the people. They don't have the support base of the youth. The youth has responded to Modi. So will the youth also be willing to accept a party which is a totally different BJP, which is not the BJP of yore at all? It is not only a transformation. It's a mutation into a different form altogether.
Absolutely. Mutation. Sheela, in fact, 15, 20 years back, we have all seen this. They would pride themselves on the fact that, we are a party with a difference. We believe in collective leadership and, all these things. You think that era is over?
BJPs?
Yes.
Party with a difference.
Party with a difference. We are. If you remember in 1995, 96 and all, I'm sure Smita also would remember, collective leadership was their mantra, in fact.
Girish, may I tell you one thing, that in 35 years, very rarely in our journalism, media, such an exciting era has come. First of all, let me tell you, personally, I feel that
Why are you saying it's exciting?
Every day things are changing, it seems like that, because India is so young. So it's so unpredictable. So what your question is that is BJP era is over? If it is so, BJP, it is, I think, for good.
He raised two issues about the Sangh party relationship now as compared to the past. Second thing is what I said about the kind of
that's what I'm saying, that now
transformation which has taken place.
India is also transformation. Delhi, the culture, the politics.
So the BJP is also transforming.
Relationship of politicians and media, relationship of politics, government and judiciary, everything is under transformation. Lot of changes are coming, and we could see even in this discussion that tremors. There is difference and something will erupt or something may not erupt. So I think this question, whether BJP is, one era is ending and the new era is starting, of course new era is starting. Because of this 16th May results suggest that something new has started. But how well, is it good for India, is it good for the democracy? We will have to wait.
Smita.
I want to take off from what Professor Pant was talking about, the relationship with the RSS.
Yes.
In a sense, Narendra Modi is the most perfect product of the RSS ideology in terms of ideology. But the RSS also believes, as you pointed out, in collective leadership.
Absolutely.
It doesn't believe in the cult of the individual.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Modi has brought that element to it. There has been a struggle in the last so many years between the RSS and Mr. Modi. There have been many leaders in the RSS who are disturbed by his this individual cult, personality cult that he has. But in the end, they realized that he was their best bet, and if he was not given the kind of backing, then they would have to just stay out
of power for a much longer time.
Yeah, so one has to see how this equation, develops in the future. And the second thing I want to point out is that it's maybe a coincidence, but yesterday you had this surgical sort of surgery, and Mr. Advani and Dr. Joshi and Mr. Vajpayee were sort of put into this little isolation booth, as it were. And today, this Rajnath Singh episode. So you have the second most important leader in the cabinet.
Right.
Objecting to virtually saying that somebody inside the BJP has been saying things about him. There have been, I mean, after all, there's only been speculation in the media. There have been gossip items, no real story.
So a speculation has been confirmed by the minister himself, you get a
Prime Minister's
office issues a clarification.
And after that, Mr. Amit Shah has issued a clarification. So I think that's quite interesting, because as we have seen, this Prime Minister has not been responding to things. I mean, there's been skirmishes on the border. He's not reacting. He's not reacting to many things that are happening, which you would imagine somebody who is as vocal as
one had seen him to be.
So, I mean, it's not going to be that easy.
No, that's Anant. Two things. One is about the RSS party coordination. There is a line of thinking which says that RSS is very much part of this exercise which has been undertaken by Amit Shah. It was very much within their knowledge, and also it was done with their consultations. The other side is that maybe the present leadership in the BJP has risen above the RSS itself.
No,
and also this Rajnath episode. How would you look at it?
No, I just want to take you back to Gujarat, where Modi is 12 years or 13 years. He has finished RSS in Gujarat. He has finished VHP in Gujarat. So he has, and at the national level, Modi has pocketed, I think, half of the RSS leadership. That is what we learn.
Yes.
So it is means in coming days there will be some problem. What Smita was slightly, she was hinting towards that the conflict between RSS hardliners and Modi that might come up in coming days or months. And other thing about Rajnath Singh, I think BJP and Modi now they are really started realizing what is India. It was all right that Modi could just had his grip on a state, but now this is India. He is at the national level, and there are many things, many loopholes, many gaps from where information can just leaked, and you will be in trouble. So I think that is the message BJP leadership must have got now, and that is why we are seeing that there is an explanation from PMO as well as Mr. Amit Shah.
Yes.
So that is the gravity of this particular episode.
Sheela, how would you look at it?
To Rajnath Singh episode?
Yes, Rajnath Singh episode, and also the interplay between the BJP and the BJP in the present form and the RSS.
I think RSS and the dividing line between RSS and BJP is blurring.
Blurring, okay.
And I feel Narendra Modi's style of functioning will be very distinct than what RSS thinks of.
RSS wants it to be.
Okay. And I think Amit Shah is a buffer between RSS and Narendra Modi. And also I feel very strongly that Modi, after coming to power, is understanding that he is riding the tiger. Never expected, I think, the way India has opened up before his eye or maybe on his table. But I feel very strongly about Rajnath Singh episode that it's very, very interesting. nobody knows whether Rajnath Singh's son actually went there or whether what Modi told him. We don't know. Out of one rumor which was looked believable to journalists only, and things came out, and then National Daily is giving a second lead story without any single on the record, off the record, any quotes are believable, and then Prime Minister of India response. That makes the story,
in fact,
the story begins there.
Yes.
So what is the message in Rajnath Singh is that, very interesting, as I told you before only, that the relationship of government and media will be decided very soon. Will take a new shape very soon.
Will take a new shape. Anyway, but that we will wait and watch.
Because the way PM has responded, I am very surprised.
You are surprised.
Which national daily is also important.
Pardon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Professor Pant, you think this is the end of, there is no way in which, say, Mr. Advani or Murli Manohar Joshi will be able to revive themselves?
No, this is definitely the end, although as Anant says, a politician never says die. But the problem is, in this case, the age is against them. B, as Sheela put up, they probably in the heart of heart know that the young India doesn't really want to be led by them. So this is the end of the road for them. My problem is still there that one thought that this country had a tradition of respect for age, even hypocritically maybe. And probably people thought that elderly people in Congress party touching Rahul's feet was the height of vulgarity.
Yes.
But if that is the culture which says that this is what all political parties do, so this is what BJP is doing no different. And about the surgical operations and surgical strikes, being a doctor's son, I have a different take. There is a chemotherapy, there is radiation therapy, and there are surgical strikes. So unless you find a limb gangrenous or a cancerous malignant, you opt for non-surgical treatments. So I think that should have been adopted perhaps.
Smita, I have a question. There is this, if you look at the structure now of the BJP as a party, the Parliamentary Board, Central Election Committee, which are supposed to be two of the most powerful bodies, you will find a section of people there who are the bridge generation. Like, they were there with Mr. Advani, they were there, like Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj, Venkaiah Naidu, Anant Kumar, and now you have a new set of people also along with that. You think this bridge generation will be able to merge with the new generation?
Can I quickly chip in one in which she could respond to?
Yes.
The organization of BJP in different states of India also owes much to these veterans.
Right.
So would there suddenly be a switch to hangers-on, carpetbaggers who can go to the government and BJP, or what happens to the old organizational structure?
Yeah, no, I think firstly, if we look at the way in which Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani operated, they were very different, they are very different kind of human beings, maybe sharing a common ideology, but their personalities were different. But they always worked as a team. They had their differences even inside the government, I remember. But somehow there was this sense that the party was greater than either of them. In the way they function, in the way,
even the government,
in the way things develop.
Yes.
I think we are not going to see that. I mean, there is. I don't think Narendra Modi is going to give Rajnath Singh. I mean, Rajnath Singh has flexed his muscles. So
already.
But is he going to give Jaitley or Sushma Swaraj or anybody, any one of them, that the kind of space that say Vajpayee gave Advani, Advani gave Vajpayee? It's a very different sort of generation. I think Vajpayee and Advani came out of a long struggle. For years together they had been on the margins and then built this. These people have got it much more easily. So I would
Sheela,
like to see that.
How do you look at it? The bridge generation and the new generation getting together, the kind of, what kind of equation do you see there?
Why we are not also talking about reference to context also of this entire episode? I repeat again and again that this is not done very well.
You're talking of the Rajnath
I'm not
episode?
approving the ethical quotient somewhere moral is lacking. But I'm saying like how many, we know the history of what Advani, how he ruled within the BJP, how he was also once upon a time a central authority, how Pramod Mahajan to any number of leaders, he had his own coterie, he had his own time, how many times Vajpayee people were suffering because Advani was upper hand. And secondly, after 2009, I strongly feel that when he lost to Manmohan Singh, then when they were pitted against each other, I think a lot of Advani's authority had already eroded then. So now it was...
no, I'm not talking about Advani. I'm talking of the generation whom Advani built.
No, first of all, lot of such thing. I think this 16th May verdict is so loaded and profound that if Narendra Modi is able to improve the governance of this country, lot of our analysis about the party, about its future, about Modi and about the way Advani is being so-called surgical operation is happening, will all
evaporate. You think
will
that
all change its meaning.
Yes.
I just wanted to respond to
Very
what
quickly.
Professor Pant talked about in the states. This is already visible, say, in Madhya Pradesh, where the leaders who are senior to Shivraj Chauhan, they have already been sidelined.
So they have already been, in fact, bringing Shivraj Singh Chauhan into the parliamentary board and this committee itself is quite an interesting. Anant, how do you look at it?
No, I have just a small point. Means, what is happening in BJP, it is only one way. That is what Mr. Narendra Modi wants, what to be done in the party. I think the man who want Amit Shah to be the president of the party from the same state. I think
This has never happened in any political party.
Because he wants complete hold over the party. He wants complete hold over the happenings and developments in the party. If such a man, if he is doing this in the party, and if it is reflected in the governance, this kind of this is reflected in the governance also, I don't know where are we heading for.
Okay, so Sheela, you want to respond to that?
Sheela, respond.
No. Yeah. Okay. I'm telling you, this India is thinking certain way, and Narendra Modi, we have to
thinking
see.
In that way.
No, that is what our job is. As a media, we should observe what is India thinking and whether Narendra Modi is and through his governance, whether he is reflecting all these things or not. And our old cliche and old ideas of analyzing parties and its politics, we will have to also change. So I feel I'm waiting for this government to do some profound changes in how it governs India from Delhi.
Profound
after
changes.
that, all these things will also
Yes, Anant, quickly.
If Mr. Narendra Modi, who was riding a huge wave of popularity, this man, he just cannot tolerate one Sanjay Joshi and one Harin Pathak, small chaps.
Okay, I mean that's interesting.
So this is his way of functioning.
Professor Pant, very quick last words to you. This is a huge, it's a huge shift which has happened in this party. It's quite a, somebody is even referring to it as a seismic shift which has happened in the party.
I would agree
you think the majority in the party would accept it and you
they have no choice.
They have no choice.
And I would agree with Sheela, this seismic shift is not taking place now. This is the aftershocks.
Okay.
The change had taken place long time back.
Smita?
Yeah, I agree. I mean that, but we have, I don't entirely agree that we are going to see some huge, things that are positive, because this kind of control, what Anant referred to, if you have all the powers in the hands of one man, however brilliant, in a democracy, things can go wrong much faster than...
You think the Rajnath episode is an example of that?
Rajnath episode is an example of two things, that this government's biggest weakness will be lack of transparency if it grows, and central authority.
Okay, I think on that note we need to end central authority and the weaknesses which are there, but that is what is visible now. It's for a political party, it's up to it how it will deal with itself. It's not the government, it's the party. We'll wait and watch how the dynamics within the party will develop over a period of time, and then we can make a proper assessment of what has happened yesterday. Thanks to all my guests, Anant, Bagaitkar, Smita Gupta, Pushpesh, Pant, and Sheela Bhatt. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.